Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to put the Olympics aside. Instead, today, we have the Pred Olympics. That's right. Today on the Locked On Predators podcast, we are assigning sports to our Nashville Predators team. Who would dominate figure skating? Who would tear up the snowboarding halfpipe? Who would be the best curler on the team? This is an episode me and Ann have been waiting for all week. We got some spicy answers. We want to hear your take. That is coming up today on the Locked On Preds podcast.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making us your first listen of the day, and thank you for tuning in to the Locked On Predators podcast. I'm Nick Morgan. I'm a writer and editor at ontheforecheck.com, and I have a partner in crime who told me before we started, spent a lot of time coming up with her official Pred Olympics list.
I did. I invested. I over-invested and enjoyed every minute of it. I'm Ann Kimmel. I'm a writer at ontheforecheck.com.
Yeah, we put a lot of work into this.
We did.
This is going to be interesting. Let's mention the one caveat off the bat. We're not going to say their sport is hockey because that's cheating.
Yes.
That's given. As somebody on Twitter pointed out yesterday, they said, well, I would say they'd be best at hockey. That's not how this works. Maybe we should have specified that. But what fun is that? What fun is that? See the Nashville Predators play Olympic hockey. I'd imagine it'd actually be really fun, but for the sake of this list, not very.
Yes, there's our caveat.
Okay, Ann. So shall we get started? You ready to get started?
My gosh. I've been ready for this all week.
Let's start with the big one, and that's figure skating.
Oh,
figure skating. I think there's only one correct answer to this.
I would agree.
But what is yours?
My answer is, and I went with Twitter on this, Phillip Forsberg. Now, look, Phillip Forsberg is a showy guy. You do not walk around with that mustache and not wear sequins and flourish on the ice. You know what I'm saying? So he's worn some snazzy outfits. I don't know if you saw his Twitter post from the All-Star break. He was in a very festive romper, like a summer palm tree romper.
Very Swedish.
Very, very Swedish. So I can see him really fully investing in the outfits and the flash and the show. Plus, let's face it, he is incredible on ice. So for me, there's only one option. And of course, I will say that his musical selection for the long program would be an ABBA montage.
Oh, I said there's only one correct answer to this.
Yeah.
I get the correct answer.
How is that not? What?
My correct answer was one when you made the Twitter poll yesterday, you didn't even have listed. Roman Josi is going to be the figure skating choice. No, look, if there's an obvious choice, you got to go with it. Now, look, you need to be an elite skater, which Roman Josi is.
Phillip Forsberg.
But look, he's got the whole handsomeness going around.
You're not wrong.
He's so pretty. Any figure skater, girl or guy, is very pretty. They're very dolled up. And when I watch the men's figure skaters, I see I could see Roman Josi with his nice little curls on top and his big thick beard, in a matador outfit, skating around, doing a little on the ice, dangling a little red cape thing. Yeah. And look, he's ends with a rose in his mouth. That's I've got Roman Josi's routine figured out.
I feel like you have invested a lot of time in this, but let's just be clear. Let's just really put it on the table. Phillip Forsberg is not nothing. He is not difficult to look at. He is no Mark Kimmel, but he is not nothing. Like he can hold his own in that crowd as far as physical appearance. And I just see Phillip Forsberg more able to really fully embrace the artistic expression portion of the figure skating. I'm not saying that Roman Josi wouldn't nail it in the technical portion, but the artistic element, I mean, that just feels all flourishy Phillip Forsberg for me.
Did you watch him dance while playing Mario Kart? You think that's going to beat Nathan Chen?
Oh, I don't think anybody's going to beat Nathan Chen, and I'm really excited about that. Yeah. But yeah, I had Roman Josi down for something totally different and correct.
Forsberg down for something totally different and correct.
Okay. All right. Well, let me tell you where Roman Josi actually belongs. Okay. Because you bless your heart, you whiff spectacularly, Nick. So let's talk about the most kind of cerebral, analytical sport that there is in the Winter Games. And that is, of course, the nail-biting sport of curling.
No.
Oh, 100%. And here's it. Like he's going to be paired up with Alexander Carrier. Like, surely, since they have this amazing puck control, they can manage where the stone goes. They have great stick handling skills, which means they're going to be sweeping in front of the rock really, really well. Like, they hit their targets well when they're passing. So, that target on the ice that you try to get the rock to. This is where Roman Josi and Alexander Carrier are going to shine. Definitely they're curlers.
I did have Carrier in curling for almost the exact same reason. I think he's really good at making accuracy, accurate plays with a stick. So I had the sweeping thing. The guy I had throwing the rock in curling was Ellie Tolvanen, because he's got a very accurate shot. I feel like he kind of got one of those seeing eye shots. I feel like he's the guy that can be throwing the rock. Now, as I bring this up, another guy who I think would fit in curling would be Phillip Forsberg. I have him for a different sport later on, but only for the fact that the mustache fits him in with Matt Hamilton and the rest of that USA curling team.
Okay, I can see where he would blend in there, but I mean, only when he's done with his figure skating routine.
Okay, well, maybe he can pull double duty or something like that. It's a long Olympic.
Yeah, that's right.
What's the next sport on your list, Ann?
Okay, so my next sport, I went luge next, which is such an exciting sport. Everybody loves the luge, but I went rogue and I went two-man luge. Oh, because I mean, we're not just going to do the one guy on the luge. This is two-man luge, and for me, this is just another very easy call. To do two-man luge, A, you've got to have a partner you trust, and B, you've got to be willing to do something dangerous and a little bit crazy. And there are no two people, I think, who are better suited to two-man luge than Matt Benning and Mark Borowiecki. These are two defensemen who are not at all afraid of going into a dangerous situation. They block shots, and they're a fantastic pairing. And so I can see Mark Borowiecki on the bottom going, woo, the whole way down the luge, and Matt Benning on the top, just being real quiet and making sure they're right where they need to be on the luge track.
Please
so for me,
please don't let me die.
Please don't let me die. Please don't let me. And Borowiecki just loving every minute of it. So for me, two-man luge is Boro and Benning for sure.
I had them as a pair, and I see where you're going with that. And for almost the same reason, I went them with the two-man bobsled. I went and bobsled, and I went bobsled over luge because I feel like bobsled, you have to have a little bit of muscle. You have to have a little bit of grit. You have to really kind of explode.
Yes.
With that. And, you think back to some the U.S. Olympic bobsled teams, all of them are super buff, super physical, got the rocks for legs.
Yes.
And that's how I that's Benning and Borowiecki. They're the powerhouse. They're the grit. They're the ones that are just going to kill that starting gate in the sliding center or whatever it's called. Yeah. So I feel like we had kind of the same idea, just a little bit different sports.
Yeah, right idea, different sport. At least we appreciate the things that make Boro and Benning so great and the things that we miss terribly when they are not in the lineup like they weren't against the Dallas Stars. Let's hope we get them back.
Let's hope we get them back. Well, speaking of things that you miss when they're not in your lineup and or pantry, today's show is brought to you by our friends at Built Bar. Built Bar is a protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. So if it's around the time of year where you're starting to give up on your New Year's resolutions because you're sick of eating healthy, you feel like your pantry has nothing good to eat, go to Built Bar for a sweet treat. Have you tried the puffs yet? If you haven't, you're missing out on one of Built Bar's best tasting bars. Puffs are the first ever protein-infused marshmallow. They're fluffy, they're marshmallowy, they're not just a protein bar, they're a treat, and they're covered in 100% real chocolate. Puffs are a fan favorite with some incredible flavors like cinnamon churro, coconut marshmallow, and banana green pie. These are all so good. When you bite into them, they kind of have like the texture of, like those marshmallow Easter eggs. Those are like, yeah, you know what I'm talking about, Anne, like the marshmallow Easter eggs. Yeah, those are one of my favorite treats. So that's why Puffs has been fantastic for me. But don't get it twisted. They're still healthy. All Puffs are low in calorie, high in protein, and only a little amount of sugar and carbs. They're better for you than a typical candy bar. And, if that's not your thing, Built Bar still has regular, great tasting flavors to choose from, like mint brownie, white chocolate cookies and cream, and double chocolate. If you don't believe me, try it for yourself. Go to built.com and use promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order. That's right. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. And we are trucking along with Pred Olympics. We are going through the Preds lineup, figuring out what sports other than hockey that the Nashville Predators would absolutely dominate at the Olympics. So we ended with 2-man bobsled / luge,
which you got wrong, by the way.
I don't know.
I have different bobsledders.
You have different bobsledders. I had a different luge guy.
Okay. Well, so tell me, who was your luger?
Okay, well, you had, you kind of mentioned you kind of need to have like that little bit of a YOLO attitude. I also feel like losers have a bit of pizzazz, have a bit of style, a little bit of swagger to them.
Oh, I know where you're going.
Down an icy sled with, 100 miles an hour. That's why I went with Ryan Johansson as my loser. He's got that kind of do whatever attitude, whether it's, golfing his backyard with Dante Fabro and Colton Sissons that one time, or when he's just like going to the net at 100 miles per hour and just, slamming right into the two defenders that happen to be right there. He's a YOLO guy. And, he's also got a little bit of that swagger. Like, you can just see him like, going down and just saying like, whoa, this is badass the entire time he's going down that slide. He is like the man-child of the Nashville Predators. And I feel like luge is definitely a man-child sport.
Okay, I have to say that I think you nailed Ryan Johansson. Like that description fits really well. B, I can't disagree. I can see that. I may have had him with something else, but I can see him luging. You're not wrong.
He is a very good luger.
He's a good luger. He's probably great at a lot of sports, though. Like I can see him.
He's got the build for it, like the lanky arms.
Yeah.
Good reach.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Now, I had a different bobsled pair.
Okay.
And kind of some of the same logic that you used, but I landed somewhere different. So, you need big, muscular, burly kind of, it's a physical push the sled thing, but it really in the end comes down to two guys in a sled. Like you push the sled, you jump in, and then you just kind of go. It's very straightforward. And so I went with Phil Myers and Ben Harper. Big, physical. it's very straightforward. You get what you get. Like, there are no triple Lutzes here. You know what I mean? Like, you push the sled, you jump in the sled, you ride the sled. Like, I feel like that is a kind of where we find Harper and Myers, just
they're there.
They're in the sled. They pushed the sled. And then they sit in the sled and the sled goes down the hill. So I went with that.
6 minutes a night.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about one of my all-time favorite sports, the sport at which I'm certain I could be an Olympian if I applied myself, biathlon.
Or as I call it, the ski a little bit and then shoot a gun.
Also known as that.
Yeah.
Who did you have for biathlon?
This is one that I went back and forth on, but I am going with Mattias Ekholm.
Okay.
And one of the big things about biathlon is it's all about endurance. Like, you were cross skiing for a long time. And then after, every once in a while, once you're like worn out from skiing, you have to stop. You have to mentally focus and hit that target. And that is something that Mattias Ekholm does very well. He plays a lot of minutes for the Preds, averaging about 23, 24 a night this year. He is a guy who is out there for a lot of minutes in a lot of key situations, but never really seems to make any glaring mistakes. Like, it doesn't matter if it's at the end of a long shift or if it's the end of the game and he's been out there the entire time. He's got the mental focus. You never see him just kind of, his body wear down. He's so physical. He's got such good endurance, and he rarely, if ever, especially this year, really like slips up and makes like glaring mistakes caused by fatigue. That's something you need when you're like cross country skiing, which is really hard, by the way.
Oh gosh, it's really so hard.
Yeah. That's something you need when you're doing that. And then after the end of an hour of that, you're like, all right, well, let me shoot this tiny target.
Yeah, no, biathlon, I think it's got to be one of the most underrated, difficult sports physically and mentally. So I would agree. I went with someone different, but for similar reasons. I went with Ellie Tolvanen.
Okay.
I think Ellie Tolvanen has so elevated his game and just his physical presence. I feel like he would have the stamina for the cross-country skiing portion. He has really just his all-around game over the last season and a half or so has just elevated, developed, and I think he's become such a good, solid, complete physical player. But he also has that shot. I mean, I feel like he can thread a needle with his shot. And so that's why I feel like when it comes time to like lay down in the snow or stand up in the snow and hit those little teeny tiny targets, I feel like Ellie Tolvanen might be our guy for this. I feel like I could compete with him pretty well in this, but he might beat me.
We just got Scandinavian on Scandinavian just going full on.
Oh, and it's on. Like, don't stir the Scandinavia pot because it will bubble over. Yeah.
What else we got, Ann? What's next on the agenda?
Well, next for me, I have the snowboard half pipe.
Okay, let's do the snowboard half pipe.
Snowboard half pipe. I watched it last night. Shaun White did his final ever Olympic run in the snowboard. He's retiring. So that was just a whole moment. I had a very emotional moment. I went on this one with Ryan Johansson for similar reasons that you had him luging.
Okay.
This sport, kind of the vibe of this sport seems to fit Ryan Johansson. Like, it's fun, it's adventurous, but it's kind of laid back and like, we're going to have a good time while we do this. But he's also so skilled, I can totally see him whipping a 1440. So for me, I can completely see Ryan Johansson hanging with the flying tomato, going down the snowboard half pipe.
So I'm going to give you two answers in this.
Okay.
One for snowboard half pipe, one for ski half pipe.
Okay.
Snowboard half pipe is Tanner Jeannot.
Oh, yeah.
Because I feel like there's a little bit of flash and bang when it comes to snowboarding, especially on the half pipe. You have to have style, but it's also like power. It's a lot of big air. Like, it's a lot of like gnarly,
yes,
you're 20 feet above the ground. And if you're off your line a little bit, you might crash and burn. So that's why you have to have a little bit of a whatever attitude about it. Just like kind of like a thrill seeker. And
Oh yeah.
just screams thrill seeker, doesn't he? Like he's
He
like the
does.
guy who will just like, he's like the white Canadian Chloe Kim.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he's the guy who's gonna like go out there, just do like a giant, like a giant big air, do like a bunch of backflips, and then like land, like smile, and then be like, please give me some snacks.
I can see that.
And keeping on the half pipe, skiing half pipe, I had Phillip Forsberg.
Wow, interesting. Explain that one.
Because I feel like it's a lot of the same principle with snowboarding, but like a little bit more, I think, technical.
I can see that.
There's a big debate over what's harder. Like we had this long debate over what's harder, skiing or snowboarding. Both are something I would die trying.
100%.
But it feels like skiing, because it's like, you got the two skis attached. If you get them like cross, if you're like land awkwardly at all, you're going down. Whereas snowboard, maybe a little bit more room for error. I don't know. This is a debate that can go like a lot of different ways. But I put Phillip Forsberg because I think it's a little bit more technical. But all the same things I said for Jeannot, you kind of have to have that like thrill seeker, big error. Just like, a little bit of like flash and bang to your style. And that screams Phillip Forsberg to me.
Okay. I can see your argument there. I have to tell you, I'm torn on the snowboard versus skiing thing, and here's the problem with the Winter Olympics for me. Here's just my own personal struggle. I watch these and I think that looks so fun. I should try that.
Yeah.
At my age, that looks fun. Don't even think about it. Like, can you imagine? But I can see Phillip Forsberg just a little bit more panache for the skiing portion of that.
Yeah.
Of course, we do still have a couple sports left. I still have speed skating, and we have to talk skeleton because, I mean, that's just insanity and something we want to talk about. Covering these amazing Predlympics, but we want to let you know, if you want to place a little wager on some actual sporting events, you might want to reach out to our friends at Bet Online. Bet Online has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before, as football continues its march through the playoffs right to the big game coming up this weekend. BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all of your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just football. BetOnline has up-to-the-minute college and pro hoops. Of course, they have NHL, they have boxing and UFC, along with live real-time updates of current games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the new amazing offers available for the 2022 season. BetOnline, where the game starts.
All right, so do we want to go to alpine skiing next?
Oh, I would be happy to do alpine skiing.
Let's do alpine skiing. Who do you got for alpine skiing?
Alpine skiing, this for me is a no-brainer. This is 100% Matthias Ekholm. Like, this is his wheelhouse. I'm thinking if he is, coming down the hill and if he has to go around those little things, really should have researched what these things were called before we recorded this. But, the little gates, the gates. I can just see him blowing past the gates and muttering something untoward in Swedish as he blows past them all. So for me, I think it's just an easy call that the giant Swedish redwood is going to nail alpine skiing.
Well, I disagree.
Okay.
I think when you think of alpine skiing, they're like muscular, but they're also like, a lot of speed, a lot of like good on their skates that can make like the hairpin turns at any moment, a lot of finesse. That to me is our friend Matt Duchene.
Oh, I can't argue that.
Yeah, because when I think of Matt Duchene, he's just a very underrated skater. I feel like that's something that's kind of like not talked about a lot with his game, but he's really good at kind of making like those quick turns. We saw it not too long ago with kind of like the overtime play where he like kind of stopped in the skate, went around, and then fed it to Forsberg.
Yes.
That to me is like he's the guy that can get around those gates. Like he's that guy who can like dominate those turns and like do the little hairpin turns, like where you're right on the line, your shoulder just like clobbers into the gate, but you keep going, it doesn't throw you off your line. That to me is Matt Duchene. Like that sums up his game to a T.
Yeah, I have to say, I would actually defer to your call on this one. Matt Duchene may be our top prospect for Alpine skiing. You might not be wrong on that one. Gotcha. All right, let's talk skeleton. Like the most batshit crazy sport I think I've ever seen in my life. Every time I watch it, I'm like, who is the mom who said yes when her kid came to her and said, "Hey, Mom, I want to try this"? Like, who's the mom that said yes?
I want to go down head first at 100 miles per hour on an icy slope.
Yeah, I don't understand how it happens. And yet we have some amazing skeleton athletes. And of course, so does the Nashville Predators. The Nashville Predators have a phenomenal skeleton athlete. Like I said, you have to be a little bit batshit crazy to do the skeleton. You're whipping down an ice slide face first. And for me, that's Tanner Jeannot. For the same reasons you talked about, like no fear. Like, I'm not intimidated remotely. I'll fight Zendo Chara and have no problem, and not be afraid. And so I feel like there is an element of that fearlessness that Tanner Jeannot plays with game in and game out that would apply beautifully to skeleton. And I can see him really like enjoying the ride while he teases death repeatedly.
I can see that. Like, that is a good pick. That is a very strong pick. My pick for skeleton is still on the herd line, and for a lot of the same reasons, Yakov Trenin. And I'm glad you mentioned the no fear fighting Zdeno Chara, because wasn't that the thing that like put Tanner Jeannot, or not Tanner Jeannot, put Yakov on the map? Was he took down Big Z in like,
you're right,
NHL game or something like that. So he's got that no fear kind of attitude. He doesn't care if he's the one just like throwing his body at somebody at 100 miles per hour. He doesn't care if there's a defenseman charging at him and he knows he's going to get hit. He'll still be like, whatever, standing there, make a play, the hit. So he is my skeleton guy. But I think we're on the same page with herd line. I think like anybody on that herd line, Colton Sissons included, would be the YOLO guy, and Nick Cousins as well. I think he's another YOLO guy. So maybe we just have depth on the skeleton crew.
We would. Now I had, and you're right, Yakov Trenin definitely skeleton, but I had him as ski jumping because in my mind, they always say the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. If you're at the top of the hill and you want to get down the hill, you go straight down. And if there happens to be a giant ramp in the way, you just take that and you like aim yourself like a missile. And I feel like that's a little bit how Yakov Trenin is. Like he has got to be terrifying if you see him coming at you and you're along the boards, like just missile straight at you. But I can see him holding his own on skeleton as well, for sure.
Okay.
All right, I have one last one, and I feel very strongly about this one.
Okay.
Speed skating.
Speed skating. Okay.
Let's hear it. Love this sport. I think it is fascinating to watch. Amazing athletes. The thing I notice about speed skaters, though, is just how strong their legs are. And so for that reason, I went UC Saros. I don't know if you saw on Twitter this week, there was a picture, or last weekend, from the All-Star game. I think it was the All-Star game. Anyway, UC Saros was sitting in a locker room. He was wearing a pair of shorts. And oh my gosh, the man's quads. Like he is Quadzilla. He is the quad father. His quads are ginormous. And I say that respectfully, but his legs are freaking ripped. And so while I tend to never want to see anybody in spandex, I would put him in a speed skating uniform and stick him out on that track, because I feel like he must have the leg strength to hold his own in whether it's short track or just regular speed skating. Yeah.
I can see that. I feel like that's a good pick. I also never want to see UC Saros's quads. That doesn't sound appealing to me.
You can't unsee them.
Yeah, I would rather just see Roman Yossi in the Matador outfit. For speed skating, here's what I think of speed skating as. You need to be strong in your skates, but you have to have a little bit of patience, don't you? It's about like holding your line. You know, it's really tempting to just like bust out a couple of strides and pass.
Yes.
You really need to be patient, wait for that lane to open up in the last 2 laps, and then it's just kind of a free for all at the end.
Yes.
That screams Mikael Granlund to me.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Because I feel like he's got the patience. Other than Roman Yossi, maybe the smartest, well, not the smartest, but best hockey IQ team, I think, is he's just got like that vision. Like if we were doing this for football, I would say he'd be the running back, because he's that guy that can like kind of just like wait at the line and wait for the hole to open up. So I would like apply that to speed skating. He's that guy that would like hold his line. You know, he might be in 4th going into the last lap, but he wouldn't panic, because, you know, once that last lap hits, he's like, okay, knows where the holes are, knows where the lane is, knows where he can pass. And then at the end of the day, all of a sudden he just makes a big move and he's in 1st place. That screams Mikael Granlund to me.
Oh, I really like that pick. And it helps erase the whole thought of UC Saros's quads for me. Yeah. So I'm gonna yeah, it is a double win. Bless UC Saros's heart. I love that pick. I do agree with you. I think Mikael Granlund has one of the highest hockey IQs of any player we have on the roster right now. And he is able to find those little lanes, like you said, those brief moments where you can really make a play happen. So I have to agree with you on this. I would start Mikael Granlund in speed skating and have UC maybe just sit in the stands and cheer him on in very flowy pants.
Real quick, like rapid fire kind of style, a couple of friends we didn't mention. Let's figure out what sports they'd be best at. It can be one that we've already mentioned before.
Okay.
Phillip Thomasino.
Oh gosh, Phillip Thomasino. You know what? I can see him doing like moguls where you go down the little bumps and then you do the little jumps. It hurts my knees.
Yeah.
No, but I don't think there's a lot of physical contact or I don't think it's too bad. And he seems pretty bendy. So I'm going to go moguls.
I would say he's also a pretty good figure skater.
I could see that.
But the youthful look, a lot of style.
Yeah, I could see that.
Dante Fabro. We hadn't mentioned Dante Fabro.
Dante Fabro. I had him down. What did I have him down for? I had him down for freestyle skiing.
Okay.
Because he's kind of got that YOLO thing going with Ryan Johansson, but I don't think he's quite like loose and cool, like loose and like relaxed and YOLO enough to be snowboard half pipe. So I had him for freestyle skiing.
Let me see. There's a couple I could pick. You know, I think Dante Fabro could be a pretty good like long track speed skater.
Yeah, I could see that one.
Fairly short track, but like kind of more of like the just long strides.
I could see that.
Who else? Didn't really mention Colton Sissons. Colton Sissons is another guy that I think would be a really good luger or a skeleton guy.
Oh heavens. Yes, I can see he and the herd line all just lining up to do luge or skeleton for sure. What about Nick Cousins? Where do you see Nick Cousins?
Let's see. Nick Cousins. Well, I think I had him as potentially like somebody that would be like good on the skeleton as well. Bobsled. I think he'd be like a very solid bobsled guy because there's a lot of simplicity to his game, but he does it very well.
Yes. Yes, I would have him in alpine skiing because of the tight turns. I feel like we've really seen him kind of cut some edges really well. If he brings the puck into the zone, I feel like sometimes he'll stop on a dime and pivot and pass the puck really well. So I would do alpine skiing for Dick Cousins.
Yeah. I didn't mention UC Saros. For me, that's ski jumping, because you need to do one thing. For him, stop the puck or just jump really far. But that one thing can probably kill you. So no,
fair enough.
Saros, he's the guy that like just stands in there, does his job, and does it very well. So I think he'd be a good skier. Last one, David Riddick.
David Riddick. Oh, he's so fun. I really see him as like snowboard half pipe, freestyle skiing. Like, I feel like that's his jam. That's his crowd. So that's what I'm going to go with for David Riddick.
I do like snowboard cross, like the downhill race.
Yes.
Or like street.
Yeah. No, I can see that. He's fun, but I can see him being competitive enough to really want to get into that. So yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. All right, Twitter people, you guys weigh in now. If you're listening to this or watching it on YouTube, go on Twitter at @LO_Predators. Tweet us who you think would make the best different Olympic sports. Like, which Predator would be best at figure skating? Do you agree with me or Anne? Would you want to see Roman Yossi in a Matador outfit? The answer is yes for all of you. So, yeah, let us know your thoughts. We're excited to see you guys weigh in. Next week, Preds have a couple of games, still kind of a wonky schedule, but we'll be back to talk about that. Monday, I might not be very coherent because of the Super Bowl here in Cincinnati the night before, but we'll see what happens. Tune in either way. And
that's right.
Until then, where can the fine people find your work?
You can find my work at ontheforecheck.com, and you can find me on Twitter at ANK_Mama on Ice.
You can find me on Twitter at _NSMorgan, or read my stuff at ontheforecheck.com as well. That's going to do it for us here today on the Locked On Predators podcast. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you back here Monday.